Hey, this is Robert and Christian back with another video. Today we're going to cover installing and upgrading the Visual KPI Server Manager. So as you may know, we release software quite frequently, and all of our customers who are paying customers and have support contracts with us can upgrade every time we release new software. And so we're going to show you the process of going through that upgrade. And Christian, welcome, and let's just dive right in.
Sure, Robert, thanks. Let's talk briefly here about install and upgrades. The install and upgrade process is very similar. You'll install what we call our Visual KPI Server Manager, and then we'll add instances or upgrade instances from them. Before we dive into that, though, let's talk a little bit about our release numbers, Robert. As you said, we release often, and we have a kind of a versioning, a number system that has some rhyme and reason behind it, although it may not appear so when you first look at it. But let's talk about that a little bit. So what we're looking at here is a blank Visual KPI site. And if you want to find out as a user, without the Server Manager tool at all, what version you're running, you can actually do that through the software. If you click here on the little help icon, it will pull up some information about the site. One of them here is the Visual KPI version number. If we break that down a little bit and talk about that version number, because it is important, what we have here, I put it up here in this little notepad, is this particular one is version 5.36.4.262. We'll often refer to this as the 262 build or the 266 build if it's a different build. And what these little numbers mean is the very first numbers are major release. You hear us often say this is a V5 feature. That means it's part of the 5 dot release series. The second number is the schema inside of that V5. And this number is really important. When this number upgrades or updates, and how this will update is if we add a new feature or maybe a new field in the designer or a new column that you can enter information into, that number will increment. And when that number increments, the thing you have to do also, apart from installing and upgrading the software on the server, is the Visual KPI designers will have to be upgraded to match. So as long as these first two numbers are the same, then designers do not need to be upgraded. If this number changes, then they do. The third number is simply the number of builds since the schema has incremented. So in this particular case, we're in the fourth build inside the 5 release 36 schema number. And then this last number is the number of builds in the major release. So in this particular one, this is the 262nd build we've done in V5. That makes sense, Robert?
Great, perfect, Christian. So let's dive in, and looks like you're running a little bit out of date version here. Let's see what it takes to upgrade the server.
Sure. So to obviously go to the website and download the Visual KPI Server Manager Setup Program. I'll just go ahead and run this. This is a very quick install. And it's kind of your basic stuff, what path you want it to go to. If it's an upgrade, it'll default to the existing path. Hit next, and it copies new files. Now, one thing to note is running this install does not, in effect, upgrade your Visual KPI instances. Once I run this number here on my website is still going to be 262. In order to do that, you have to go and upgrade the individual sites themselves. So think of this as like a tool in which you upgrade from.
Great. And Christian, before we get too far in that, are there any prerequisites that somebody needs to know before running that installation?
Yes, actually, one thing with whether it's an upgrade or an install, one of the things that you really have to have is you have to have the user running the Server Manager tool needs to have permissions to write to the database in which this is going to be installed on or in which you're going to upgrade from. Under the covers, we do stuff like modify tables, change columns around, upgrade stored procedures, all this kind of nitty-gritty stuff that requires permissions to write to the database, and that's really important.
Excellent, thanks. Okay, so now you have upgraded the Server Manager software, which is separate from upgrading the individual instances of our software itself.
Exactly. And what this does, and the reason we do that is, a lot of customers have multiple instances. They may have a production instance, a development instance. They may have an instance for each site. They may have, instance per division. And sometimes they want to upgrade to get a new feature. Sometimes they don't. So this allows you to have multiple different instances. You can even have version 4 and 3 instances on here if you want. If you haven't upgraded them, or for some reason you don't want to upgrade them, whatever the reasoning may be, this allows you to have multiple different what we call instances or websites all running different versions.
So in this fictitious example here, we have a finance group who has an individual site running Visual KPI, a production group, and then some fictitious one just called Visual KPI here. Maybe that's our dev instance or something. And so in the case of this video, we'll show you how to upgrade an individual site. And then after that, Christian, you can show them how someone would go about upgrading all their sites.
Sure. So, again, that's really helpful when you have a lot of sites, is to be able to say, kind of do them in a batch, just go upgrade everything. Or like we just talked about, you can upgrade them individually. So in order to upgrade an individual site, I click on the instance I care about, and there's a little, there's a couple ways to do it, but you right click here, and it says upgrade instance. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to prompt me through a little bit of a wizard here. It's telling me I'm going from 262 to 264, which is our current release as of today. You get your standard license agreement stuff that you should read and memorize. You can, in this particular method, also change your key if you perhaps have renewed or need some sort of new license key or expanded your use. This is where you would enter a new key on upgrade. Change your contact information if you wish to for the site administrator, and that's about it. Next, it runs through, it stops services, it will upgrade files, restart our services, obviously upgrade the database, and that's it. There's not much to it. Okay, so that looks like that's completed. We get a nice success message, we hit finish, and now if you look back to kind of where we were at the Server Manager, you can see right now that the Visual KPI site is now on 264. Now if I refresh the website on this same page now, this Visual KPI, I'm on the help page. If I refresh that, it will also tell me, hey, I'm on the current version. I'm on current version 264. So that's it. That's all it requires to upgrade a site. There's really not a lot of magic to it. It's quite simple, and you'll immediately see the benefits from any and all new features we've added.
Great. Now let's upgrade multiple.
Sure. So now we did one, we got two other ones. So instead of right-clicking one at a time and going through that, if we right-click on the parent website itself, we get a little option here that says upgrade all site instances. So if I click that and say next to the little wizard, and yes, I've read your egregious terms. Now what it's given me is a list here of what we call instances installed on this website. Here we have the finance and the production one have not been upgraded. And as you can see, we've already upgraded the Visual KPI version instance, so it tells you the version is current. So I can either choose, if I had 50 of these, I could select which ones I want to do by unchecking or checking them all. But I'm just going to go ahead and leave the defaults and say, let's upgrade these two. I click next. It's going to tell me again, here's what you're going to do. You're going to upgrade these two sites. And now it's just going to go through very similar to what happened before. Some of the dialogues aren't there. You can't change your site administrator this way. You can't change your CD key. There's other ways to do that, but not during the upgrade process. This is really a batch thing. It's going to go through and say, for every one I select, just upgrade them. All right, there you have it, Robert. We went through and upgraded the one site kind of individually, the Visual KPI site individually, or excuse me, the Visual KPI instance individually, and then we upgraded all the site instances, the other remaining two, in kind of a bulk or batch fashion. And that's all there is to it. There, we've upgraded 3 Visual KPI instances in just a couple of minutes.
Great, thank you, Christian. So just to summarize, we have shown what it takes to install the Visual KPI Server Manager, to upgrade the Visual KPI Server Manager itself, and then to upgrade instances. We'll just close here by saying all of our existing customers, you can upgrade at any time to our latest version for free. Just go to our website. And if you're not a customer and interested in trying Visual KPI out, please contact us. And one last thing, for those of you who would like help upgrading, or just it's your first time and you'd like to, you can always reach out to us and we'll do the upgrade with you on a web meeting at your convenience.